Problem 22, quotients. All right, we have a to the negative 1, b to the negative 2, c to the minus 3, all above a cubed, b squared, c, and the directions are simplify, leaving all variables in the numerator. So, in other words, we can have negative exponents. For a problem like this, it kind of helps if you line up the variables like this, if they're not already lined up. So I lined mine up when I was writing them down. And it really is straightforward. You're just going to subtract. Like, what's negative 1 minus 3? That's going to be a negative 4. So a to the negative 4. Then I've got what's a negative 2 minus 2. Negative 2 minus 2 is also negative 4. And then last but not least, what's negative 3 minus 1? Remember, c by itself is like c to the first power. Negative 3 minus 1 is also c to the negative 4. And we're done because we're told that we leave all variables in the numerator so we can have these negative exponents. That's all you have to do for a problem like 22. A to the negative 4, b to the negative 4, c to the negative 4. All right, 29. We've got x squared y cubed over y to the negative 2. There's a couple different ways we can tackle this, but I'm going to go ahead and show you the long way, the safe way, I guess. You're multiplying all the exponents by negative 2, right? That's what we're doing. So if I have x to the 2. Oh, and the directions for this one, I should have said this. Simplify, leaving each answer in positive exponential form. Positive exponential form. Okay, so we do have to take that into consideration with this one. And so, like, what am I going to do first? Okay, so I have x to the negative 2 to the negative 2. So I do 2 times negative 2, and that's going to give me x to the negative 4. Now, here's something interesting about this particular problem. I can simplify this part in here that's inside the parentheses. Like, what's y to the third? What's 3 minus 1? It's like this problem up here, right? They have a common base. They're both y. So I can just say, okay, well, what's y minus 1? Well, it's 2, right? So really this problem is like x squared times y squared to the negative 2. And now I do the same thing I did up here with the x. So like I have y to the second power to the negative 2 power. And that's going to give me a y to the negative 4. Now I can't leave my answer like that because they told me to put it in positive exponential form. So I have to rewrite it like this. 1 over x to the 4th times y to the 4th. I said I was going to do it the long way. That's not really the long way. The long way, and maybe for some people, I don't know, the safe way would just be to leave it written like this and just take all of these individual variables. So I'd have x squared to the negative 2, and then I'd have y cubed to the negative 2, and then I'd have that all divided by y, which is like y to the 1, right, to the negative 2. And then you would simplify that, and then if you simplified that, what you'd end up with is x to the negative 4 times y to the negative 6 all over y to the negative 2. And notice, though, what you would get the same result, because the x to the negative 4, that's still the same. But then think about it. What's negative 6 minus a negative 2? Well, that's negative 4. So whether you simplify here first and then do the exponents, or do all the exponents and then simplify, the result is the same answer. So you should do whatever, I don't know what I say most comfortable with. You should do what gives you the right answer most consistently, even if it's uncomfortable. Okay, so here we've got number 30, similar type of problem. That needs to be written in positive exponential form. So here's what we're going to do with this one. You start, it's order of operations, right? So I've got parentheses here and I've got a negative exponent. I've got to do that exponent first. So this will be x to the negative 2, and then I have x squared to the negative 3. That is x to the negative 6. And then I've got y cubed to the negative 3. That's y to the negative 9th. And I kind of recommend writing it out like this before you worry about doing that last step, where you turn it into like a ratio. Like, just lay them all out side by side with their positive and negative exponents, simplify everything first, and then at the end do that last part. So I can simplify x squared and x to the negative 6 because I can add those, and I would get x to the minus 4 times y to the minus 9. And now I can easily change that into positive form. That's going to equal 1 divided by x to the 4 times y to the 9th.